This is an episode of the Leadheads Podcast, a weapons and firearm podcast unlike any other. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing or checking out our YouTube page. Work the trigger. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Leadheads Podcast, episode 11. Top 5 guns to teach a new shooter with.
Are you done now?
I'm done now.
Okay.
Technical
Hey
difficulty.
guys, welcome back to the Leadheads Podcast. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore.
I don't know, you keep looking at my list. I can
I
sense
swear
it.
I'm not looking at your list.
My spidey senses are tingling.
Welcome back, guys. We appreciate you hopping by and listening to our quick little podcast here. As Builder said, we are doing the top 5 for what was it? Guns for first-time shooters?
Yeah, to teach first-time shooters.
Right. Guns to train, teach first-time shooters.
Yeah.
So this is if you've got a new shooter, right, and you want to take them out shooting. It's not necessarily guns for them to buy.
And it's not necessarily a child. It's just somebody who is new to shooting.
Okay. That sounds very much like we just hashed this out, but we did this like 2 weeks ago.
We did this like 4 weeks ago. Because it's been long enough that I had mine all done, my list completely made on my old phone, and then it died and I lost everything.
Mm-hmm. How did it die?
I sat on it in a crawl space.
You reverse sat on it. No.
I honestly don't know if I sat on it. All I know is I went into the crawl space and it was in my pocket, and I came out of the crawl space and it was in my pant leg.
Oh my. That's an
wearing
interesting conversion.
I was wearing a Tyvek suit, so it came out of my pocket.
And
rolled
it was
around in the Tyvek suit.
That is a bad day.
In my me soup.
That's a... Oh. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get on with our list. So, I believe I am going first this time. We've scheduled this out so that I'm not doing the next one first. So, just gave him a little behind the scenes, but that's all right.
BTS.
So, my first one is now. I didn't go super. I didn't think really super in depth about this. I don't know how far in depth you went, but we're probably going to get a little bit of crossover. So the first one I went with was it's a pistol. It is a heavier pistol. It shoots a small bullet.
Oh crap!
Low recoil. I told you we're gonna cross over on this. This is gonna be a short one. Sorry about that. That's what I get for drinking carbonated beverages while talking.
It happens.
Anyway. So, it is going to be the Ruger 2245. Mm-hmm. Specifically the 2245 over the Mark series. They're basically the same gun between the two of them, but I think I would go with the 2245 more because the grip angle thing, it's just I think it's a more comfortable gun to shoot. Maybe I think it's a more comfortable gun to shoot because I've shot a lot more of that grip angle, though.
Could be, because you're Huntsman. I mean, it's laid down.
It is, and it's extremely comfortable, and I didn't think of it until, right now, but, target pistols and stuff, they're all that steeper grip angle that is a more, natural way for your wrist to fall. So, I guess it doesn't really matter if you go with the Mark series or a 2245. Honestly, anything past a Mark II, you're going to be pretty good with.
Yeah.
The Mark IIs aren't bad, per se, but you get further back, and you're going to run into... I don't know. I guess they're
worn
still
mags.
Reliable. Huh?
Worn out mags.
Yeah.
When you get back to, the Ruger Standard.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. Now, the reasons are it's extremely soft shooting, almost no recoil. So this is a gun that you're going to use to help somebody understand the fundamentals of trigger pull, the fundamentals of sight picture, and it's going to give them a lot of positive feedback as far as when their sight picture or their trigger pull is off, as well as a lot of confidence because it's a very good shooting gun. Again, low recoil, but it's extremely accurate. Even with just bolt crap 22 ammo, it's still a really accurate pistol. Mm-hmm. And the last time I took my wife out shooting, my wife is not a shooter. And by that, I just mean she doesn't shoot a lot, and she doesn't, really enjoy it
it's not something that holds her interest.
Exactly. And, I mean, she was hitting A-zones on a USPSA target from 10 yards out with 22-45, and for somebody who doesn't shoot, she had 9 out of 10 in the A-zone. That's a pretty solid solid record there. So that's what why what are you pulling the table off the thing? Jeez.
Put my mic over this
I'm
way.
sorry. By the table, I mean the piece of wood sitting on sawhorses.
I see that. These are actually
High quality.
These
here.
aren't actually sawhorses. These are saw ponies. They're
fair.
Shorter.
That is fair. They're shorter and they can't hold nearly as much.
It's true.
Okay, so that's my first one, the Ruger 2245.
Okay. Hold on. You said the Ruger Mark.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at my list.
I did not.
Mine
I swear.
Mine I specified a little more in depth than that. I went specifically for a 6-inch barreled Ruger Mark IV 2245 with a red dot on top.
I was gonna bring up the red dot, and I love that you did.
And with that, I would also include the not the Hunter barrel, but the longer barrel Victory or the longer barrel Buckmark. Both
I think they're 5-inch barrels on those.
I believe so. Both of those are very comparable as well. The longer barrel with the red dot really doesn't do anything. But if you're shooting irons, the longer barrel is nice to learn on. What I found with my son, he's mentally there. He's ready to shoot. He's very much mentally there. Physically, and he's big.
He is a big boy.
Like, we have big kids. But physically, we each have big kids.
We have big children,
wives.
despite... that's a very good point. That's not even where I was going with it. Despite my stature, my children are... Well, one of them is on the large side, and one of them is pretty average now. But anyway.
But...
individually.
So, my son's 5. Coming up on 6. And we've tried a cricket with him, and the cricket's just still too big, especially with a scope. He has his first gun is a Rossi Tuffy break barrel, 22 long rifle, and with the scope, it's completely undoable for him. He cannot get close enough to the scope, and it's a pretty short stock. We've tried it with just the irons, and he does okay with the irons. But iron sights, I mean, I grew up learning iron sights because there was no other option other than a scope. But now with the modern times, you don't have to learn iron sights first. If you want somebody to learn how to shoot and enjoy having or enjoy shooting, I'm going to put a red dot on his Tuffy. It has unlimited eye relief. And all he has to do, once it's properly sighted in, is put the dot on the target and pull the trigger. It's the same thing with this Mark Series pistol. You're going to be able to put the dot on the target, pull the trigger. The Mark Series has a consistent trigger pull. It's not double action, single action. It's not anything like that. The trigger is not... The pull on it is short, but it's not overly light. It's not heavy by any means. It's just what I consider a pretty fair trigger. The safety is not something that I use because I'm a lefty and it's on the wrong side for me. But all the other controls are similar to what you're going to have in different pistols going down the road. So, it's a little heavy, which you find a heavy gun. It wears you out a little bit quicker, but it stabilizes a lot better.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, that was quite a rant for my first one. But
that was.
A 6-inch Mark IV 2245 with a red dot. Not a laser.
I'm going to move your Fanta because they don't pay us. So we'll get that product placement out of there. Fanta, if you're interested, we are taking sponsors.
It's true.
One thing that I like about the red dot especially is... running a red dot on a pistol lets you isolate your fundamentals. It lets you isolate the trigger pull from the sight picture.
So you can red dot's a tattletale, man. It
is a tattletale, but it also lets you focus on the trigger pull because you're not over focusing on the sights.
You have 2 things to line up instead of 4. Because you have both sides of your rear sight, your front sight, and the target. With the red dot, you have a red dot and the target.
Sorry,
the math.
Give me a stroke.
The math lines up.
But yeah, I like the idea of the red dot. Okay, So, moving on, my next one, I'm going to jump to a rifle now. And it's probably the same rifle that you...
I don't think
Actually,
so.
no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not, because...
Oh, crap, it might be then.
Because, again,
Because you looked at my list?
No. Twice. So, I went with this because of some success that I recently had. Because I was going to go with something slightly smaller, but that would take out of the equation all of, like, the full-size people. Because do you enjoy shooting a cricket? You can. It's physically possible. But you can barely get your gigantic meat finger into the trigger guard, and you're like it's like holding an AR by the mag well.
What I like about the cricket is the fact that they're so stinking accurate.
They are nifty, accurate little guns.
They're pretty giggly little guns. But no, it's not a comfortable gun for me to shoot.
But so that's not the gun I went with. I just went with the 2245.
You just went with
a 1022.
Okay.
There we go. The other one. So the reason I went with that one, and Ruger is killing it with entry-level guns, I think.
Ruger is across the board killing it with entry-level guns.
They really are.
That's what they specialize in.
Yep. So, I recently took my oldest out to shoot for the first time. I don't think I even told you this.
You told me he shot the bow, but you didn't tell me anything about shooting.
So he actually shot my 1022 for the first time.
Very cool.
Now, it was... I had him on my lap. I was holding the gun up. He basically, the buttstock was somewhere around here.
Yeah, under his shoulder.
Yep, and we worked on getting his head in the right spot, getting his trigger finger where it needed to be, and going. And he seemed to enjoy it a lot. And he could actually, he shot it, and he was hitting the target most of the time. But it was, again, it goes on the same thing as the 2245, where it is a simple, low-power, low-recoil gun. It teaches you fundamentals of scope usage and of your stature with a long rifle, or like with a long gun of some type.
And it's light. Fairly light.
It is, yeah. It's not super heavy like if you took somebody out to shoot a Mosin Nagant for the first time. Those things. Bad
Nose
trigger,
heavy.
nose heavy, hard-hitting round. A 1022 is basically the exact opposite of that. It lets them focus on the things they need to focus on, but it's still fun. And when you first take a shooter out, that's the stuff that you really want to focus on, is making sure that they're enjoying the experience rather than fearing shooting whatever it is.
A 1022 is my first gun, and there's a reason 1022 is a lot of people's first guns, because it just fits in that category. So no, ours are not the same, but I'm going to follow... I think we're following the same pattern, at least. Mine is a Savage B22, which is their bolt-action 22 that replaced their Mark II series, with a threaded barrel, a suppressor, and a scope.
Oh, I like that setup.
Another big part of firearms is they're noisy. And sometimes people don't like the noisy part. And that's fine. There are things you can do to make them not noisy.
Well, let's admit it, none of us really like the noisy. It's just we deal with it more than new shooters.
And with a suppressor, you can take that part out of it. So with the 2245, what we're taking out of it with that gun is recoil. More or less, we're taking the recoil out. With this suppressed Savage, what we're taking out of that gun is the bang, the sudden loud noise. So it's a Savage. It's going to be an absolute tack driver. So for somebody to sit down at a bench behind this gun, you're going to be able to shoot golf balls all day at 25 yards. All day. And I don't know when the last time you shot golf balls at 25 yards.
It's been a while.
It's still fun.
Is it?
Yeah. It's still fun. The last time I sighted in my 22 rifles, I was at the range, and I was under the shelter, and it was raining. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm not going to leave and get my guns all wet. So I just sat there for a while, and there was a bunch of 1 inch, 1.5 inch size chunks of clay bird there. And when I left, there was none. Because I just sat there, and I went through 100 rounds of 22, just... My Henry got hot, for perspective. My Henry lever action the barrel was hot. But no, a 22 bolt action or a 22 rifle in general is just a fantastic little gun. You take out the weight, you take out the recoil, you take out the noise. Even without the can, you take out the noise. And they're just fun. They're cheap to shoot. I mean, you can put a lot of rounds downrange without feeling too bad about it.
Yeah, that's kind of why one of the first things that I went with were these 22s. Mm-hmm. Because generally you are less concerned about the amount of ammo that you're using, and it's just fun at that point. Mm-hmm. So, is that all you got for that
That's
one?
what I have for that one.
All right. So, my next... Nope, I did those wrong. Okay, so my next one is my last 22 on the list. And this one is specifically for training with an AR-15 platform.
Okay.
Because generally speaking, people are interested in those styles of guns. They want to shoot something like that, but a lot of the times new shooters aren't really ready for it, because even though it's kind of a joke about, the recoil of a 223, they do recoil. Like, they thump.
They do. I mean, it's not a ton, but even, a 9mm AR.
Yeah.
It's not the recoil of the round, it's the recoil of the bolt reciprocating.
That is
but,
true.
ARs are a little bit jumpy. And when you pair jumpy with loud, substantially louder than a 22.
Yes.
It changes stuff.
So I crossed the worlds and went with an M&P 22.
Well, that's okay.
The AR base platform M&P rifle. It functions just like an AR. Does it use AR trigger groups? It probably.
I don't.
Maybe not.
I don't remember.
Okay. Either way, it's going to feel like you're shooting an AR. It's going to give someone that sense of having done that, without necessarily the kind of scary stuff that you might deal with as a first-time shooter. And I don't mean scary black rifle stuff. I mean, again, that concussive recoil. The very first time I shot a 223, the only rifle that I had shot recently before that, I was a relatively new shooter, and the only rifle that I had shot was a Mosin Nagant. And the recoil...
was like butter.
It was. The recoil was like butter, but the sound is so different. A Mosin is such a crack compared to a thud of a 223, and
well, the muzzle of a Mosin is a good 2 to 3 foot farther away as well.
Yeah, it's which to me is like half a body length. So,
but really, it's 10 to 12 inches farther away.
Yes. So, I went with that, again, because it's low recoil, it is comfortable to shoot, and it's going to give you that sense of having shot an AR without having to shoot an AR. And again, going back to the price of ammo,
right?
Especially now, you get that enjoyment without blasting through dollars upon dollars of ammo.
I have only shot one M&P 1522 in my life, and it is still one of my favorite guns that I've ever shot.
That says a lot. You've shot a lot of guns.
It was at a full auto shoot.
Okay. Oh.
You see where I'm going with this.
I see where you're going with this.
It was not a full auto firearm. It had a slide fire on it. And at the time, slide fire had a kit that they sold, because obviously to get a slide fire to work on a 22 is not the easiest thing. So they had a blast diverter muzzle device that helped push the firearm back, and it had like a 10-ounce trigger.
Dang.
And I'm telling you, it is one of my favorite that style firearm. We'll say fast rounds per minute firearm that I've ever shot.
That sounds pretty fun, because
it was like a typewriter, and you have no recoil. It was pretty quiet,
and you're not blasting money down the range.
Well, and you're just you can just walk your target through your reticle of your dot. You're watching your rounds hit, and you're just blasting everything.
That sounds super fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Super fun.
Super duper, Dad.
Okay.
So my number 3, we are going to vary now. I'm trying to cover all the bases.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think back when I was a first-time shooter. And I shot, my first gun I shot, or one of the first guns I shot was my father's Mark III 2245. Okay. And then my 1022. And then my 410.
Okay.
And the 410 is a very good...
Didn't even think about shotguns.
410 is a very good round. It's not on my list.
Okay.
On my list is a Mossberg 500 or Remington 870 20 gauge.
Okay.
20 gauge is
I can appreciate
less
that.
recoil than a 12 gauge. Still commonly available. You can still get the 100 round, or not right now, but you could still get the 100 round box of rounds. There's a lot of variety with 20 gauge. They have home defense rounds. They have turkey rounds. They have deer slugs. There's just a lot of variety with 20 gauge.
Yep.
And if you want to go shoot clays with it, you're not really undergunned with a 20 gauge. It has a little less shot in there, but you're still going to have fun. So one of the things I did a lot when I was learning to shoot, my dad wasn't super big into guns at the time. So we would shoot clays. He had a clay bird thrower. We'd set him up in the field next to the house, and we'd launch some clays. And I would shoot a 25 round box of 410, and then I would get to learn how to use my dad's 12 gauge, because 410 was expensive. 410 still is expensive.
Yes.
So, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd drill him with the 410, but to have an in-between round, like the 20 gauge, and he got a 20 gauge, I was just big enough to handle a 12 gauge by the time he did, but the 20 gauge is a little softer hitting than a 12, but same gun. It's a scaled down 12 gauge.
I think that's a solid choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I concur. All right, so my next one is... Okay, so now we're switching modes for me. We're going into not so much getting used to shooting just a gun in general, but getting used to shooting like a specific platform gun. So I'm going to start with... I guess one of these I don't like now that I'm thinking about it. But so I'm going to go with the other one and see if I can come up with the last one here. So now I'm going with like higher caliber pistols. So 9mm specific.
Big boy guns.
Yes, big boy guns. They're your first big boy gun.
Center fire, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So let's go. I'm going to go with the center fire pistol, and I actually have two in this category. So this is going to be a 9mm pistol, the first big boy gun that somebody's shooting, and I went with something that mimics a little bit the 2245 in that it's heavier. It's got a just a little bit simpler, maybe, not necessarily, but maybe. So the two that I went with are a Beretta 92 and an SP01. You already did you?
Oh, I totally could have guessed that.
Okay. Well, and so again, here's why. They're heavy guns. So they take that 9mm recoil and they tame it way down from like if you were doing like giving them a Glock 19 or something as their first gun. I wouldn't use a Glock 19 as somebody's first foray into 9mm. If you've got one of those bigger, little bit heavier guns, I think it's just a better option. The lack of steel frame striker fire guns, I would prefer a striker fire gun just because of the simplicity of the trigger.
Yeah.
But running like the SIG P320 Scorpion or something like that, that would be a good gun, but it's going to be a little bit lighter weight. And again, you're going to run, I guess a Legion technically would work.
It would.
But with a Legion, that stock trigger is just so crap.
Or the steel frame Walthers.
Yeah, the Q5 SF and the Q4 SF.
With all of those guns compared to a Beretta or an SP01, you're talking a lot more money.
Yeah, you're talking 1.5 times for the Legion and 2 times the money for the Walthers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to go with those. because again, they're going to emphasize the fun factor of the round, because typically speaking, if you ask somebody who has those guns and a whole bunch of other ones, which ones they enjoy the actual action of shooting more, a lot of the times it's going to be those steel frame guns. Like, you really enjoy shooting your Beretta. Yeah. I really enjoy shooting my steel frame CZs.
I love shooting my TAC Ultra, and it weighs like 5 to 6 pounds.
Yeah. So
not really, but it's practically a Colt Walker.
It sure feels like it. And that thing is glorious.
It is.
With like a 2.5 pound trigger.
Yes.
Oh, I got to shoot it this last weekend.
I know you did.
So yeah, that's why I went with those. I like them more for that.
Okay, that's fair. So my next one is, I don't have a specific gun. I have a specific caliber.
Okay, that's fair.
This specific caliber in action.
Okay.
Is a general 223 5.56 bolt action. So what we did with the 22s, as we're building here, the 22s we took out recoil and we took out noise. With the 223 we add noise, for sure we add noise, and we add a little bit of recoil.
Yep.
Depending on what one you get, it'd be some more than others. You get a 26-inch barrel target gun. Yeah. You're not going to have as much recoil as a 16-inch barrel bolt gun.
Right.
But regardless, 223 5.56 compared to other centerfire rounds is on the lower price point.
Yep.
It's got a fair amount of poop behind it. I mean, it gets
amount of poop.
It'll get the job done.
That is a good way to say it.
It's a very accurate round. I have a Remington 700 VTR in 223, and I really like that gun. And it's one of the few guns, since I got rid of my Mosin, it's one of the few guns that I like to hand to somebody else and watch them shoot it.
That's solid.
Because when you pick, forever a 223 bolt gun for me just seemed like a waste of an action.
Yes.
And for a lot of people it still is. Until you pick it up, you sit down behind it, and you start shooting it, and you realize, holy crap, this is fun. Yep. It is so much fun.
It's a good fundamentals gun. If you're just going out to pull super small groups at a couple hundred yards, and you're not, you're not reaching out past 300 yards, say.
Yeah.
And you just want to work on rifle fundamentals, perfect gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect gun for that.
And there's such a wide, everybody makes a 9mm pistol. Yep. Everybody makes a 223 bolt gun. I mean, Remington 700... fantastic gun, especially the older ones. Or you could do something a little more modern to get like the MVP or the Ruger American Ranch that take AR mags. That's pretty handy. That completely changes that gun, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's just a fun platform. 223 in some states is deer legal.
Yep. Unfortunately, not here.
Not that everybody buys guns to hunt with or whatever, but it gives you the option.
It's good to have a dual purpose for your firearm.
It is.
It's if you're gonna buy one anyway.
Right.
It's a nice little box to check.
Everybody that has 223 bolt guns around here is like, it's a perfect coyote rifle, and I'm very guilty of this too. Never coyote hunted in my life.
I want to.
I've wanted to for the past 15 years.
We need to find somebody who has coyote problems.
I know. And then we need to find time to get out there.
That and nods.
Yeah.
Shooting in the dark isn't worth it.
So, but yeah, I mean, and I'm planning on taking that gun actually to Florida later this year and going hog hunting with it. So it is a viable round.
Are we trying hog hunting again? Not we. By we, I mean you.
Yeah.
Is attempt number 2 in the schedule? Okay.
Attempt number 1 wasn't an actual attempt. We were on a family vacation, and I opted out of doing the hog hunt in favor of spending time with my family. So,
loser.
And found out after I did that there was like 5 hogs underneath the stand that I was going to be in.
Dang it.
But that's okay.
It's all right. There's always next time, and Florida is not at a loss of those.
It's not. And this time we'll be taking the truck, so I'll be able to take lots more coolers.
Ooh. nice.
Yes.
I forgot about the truck.
I love the truck. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
my number 4 is a General 223 bolt gun.
Okay, so you stole mine, you prick, because that's what I had come up with, like, in my ranting after the last one. So I'm going to go a different direction.
I had that written down for, like, days.
I'm going to... days. So I'm going to go with, instead, I'm going to stick with pistols, just because that's what I shoot the most of, and that's, you stole my rifle one. So now we're going to be getting into the striker guns and the polymer frame guns. And I hate that this is my suggestion. I hate it.
If you steal mine, we're going to have problems.
It's a Glock 44.
Oh, never mind. Gross.
Except, so Glock 44s, they've ironed out the majority of their problems. They're not blowing up anymore. Always a plus.
That is a plus when you have a firearm.
It is. So, well, they're not blowing up. They still have explosions. They're just more contained. Mm-hmm. But the Glock 44, it's a great entry trainer into Glocks. It teaches you the manual of arms with them. It teaches you, because Glocks, even though, like, shooters who shoot Glocks a lot, or shooters who have shot a lot, can use them pretty well, they're not as easy just to pick up and run with as some guns are.
No.
And so the 44 is for those of you who don't know, the 44 is a 19-sized 22 long rifle gun. It's identical externally in dimensions to a Glock 19, which is the most popular carry firearm. Sorry, one of the most popular carry firearms in America. Mm-hmm. It probably is the most popular, I'd say. The single one.
I think it's probably petering out a little bit, but yes.
Yeah. So the 44, it's just a good trainer for that. It lets them get used to a striker fire trigger, which is just a single, feel pull. It doesn't change like a double action, single action. It lets them get used to the grip angle. It lets them get used to the magazine release, to racking the slide. The slide is made of plastic, so it doesn't feel quite the same, and obviously the recoil spring is significantly lighter. But it does just get them used to that style of firearm a little bit more, and honestly, that is I guess that or the M&P 22.
Mm-hmm. I had one of those, and it was a fun gun.
They're nice, and those are really the only two 22 versions. No, I take that back. They're not the only 22 versions.
Beretta makes one.
A CZ Cadet. And Beretta does too. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Glock because that's what I already said. All right, that's all I got for that.
Okay, so my last one, with selection 2 and 4, I went from a bolt action 22 to a bolt action 223.
You did.
Selection 1 and 5.
Bolt action 9mm.
Yes. Selection 1 and 5, I'm going to go from a 22 pistol with an optic to a 9mm pistol with an optic. Okay. I'm just bumping stuff up. And I'm not going to go with the one.
Easy road.
I'm not going to go with the one you think I'm going to go with.
Wait, what am I thinking you're going to go with? 9mm with a dot. That is. Do you have to be able to afford it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a Langdon. Oh man, with a dot.
You're not going to get it.
I want to get it though.
It's not going to happen.
I want to get it. It's not gonna.
You're
okay,
never
go for
catch
it.
Me. I'm too street smart.
They're never gonna get it.
It is a 5-inch M&P Performance Center.
Yeah, no way in hell I would have guessed that.
Now, my reasoning for that.
God, you're gonna give him the hinge trigger? You sadistic son of a gun.
Performance Center is the improved hinge trigger.
It's still a hinge trigger.
It still is. It can be upgraded. The nice thing about the M&P is it can be upgraded. But what you get with this base gun...
That's like saying that she's not deaf and blind. She's just deaf.
What you get with this base gun is the Performance Center trigger is better. I don't care about the trigger right now. What I care about is the gun itself. You get a firearm that is ergonomically superior to most pistols on the market, in my opinion.
M&Ps feel good.
With the addition of the back straps being able to change, so you can change it to... Mm-hmm. I mean, there's only 3 sizes. But on a Glock, you only get... Well, they have the... On a Glock, you only get 1 size.
Right, just no back strap.
Yes. If you put back straps on Glocks, I don't know what to tell you. I have big hands and I don't.
Change guns.
But the M&P, you have your different backstraps. You have it's optics ready, and it's not direct mill for an RMR. It's the core system, so you can put a different dot on there than, or you don't have to put just an RMR. You can choose what dot you're going to put on there. The 5-inch barrel, you're going to have lower recoil before you put the dot on.
You can put a dot on that you can afford.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Before you put the dot on, if you're just using the irons, which are metal, not plastic, which is why I didn't go with Glock. If you just use the irons, the 5-inch barrel,
you can throw Walther in that now too, by the way.
Yeah,
which is why I didn't go Glock or Walther.
Yeah, but the 5-inch barrel, you're going to have a longer sight radius.
Walther.
You're going to have a longer sight radius. The M&Ps are well-built guns. They're reliable. Mm-hmm. The aftermarket is definitely there for improvements.
It is a wholly underappreciated gun.
I'm a very big M&P fan. I
need to
don't
get some. Why don't we have any?
I know I
between
don't
the two of us?
currently own one, but I have owned
We are slackers.
5.
If that gives you any idea of how often he switches guns.
I think the Glock number's over 13.
I'm not even going to get a Gen 5 Glock. That's just dumb.
I said the same
Sells
thing with
all
Gen
of his
4.
Glocks and gets Gen 5s.
Went from all my Gen 3s to all my Gen 4s, and then I was like, oh, these Gen 4s are so nice. And then Gen 5 came out, and I was like, that's stupid. They're not even... Ooh, they're better.
You know, as much crap as I give Glock, they have done... They space out their upgrades just enough to make you have to upgrade. Like the Gen 3 to Gen 4, the frame change was such a big... And the accuracy between the two of those... Mm-hmm. Well, no, the accuracy came in the 5.
Yeah.
The frame change between the 3 and the 4 was such a big change. I actually got rid of an RTF2 Gen 319 because the beaver tail area is so shallow on the Gen 3s. I get slide bite.
And the Gen 3 19 is the only 19 that fits my big bare hands.
That makes sense. But, I mean... So, the frame change for the Gen 4 and then the Gen 5 is just so much more accurate and no finger grooves. So.
The only other pistol I was thinking about for this, and again, you're not going to get it, is...
It's a cannon. A blunderbuss.
You were actually
pistol.
Really close.
Oh, dang it.
It's a Canik.
Oh. Okay, I'll buy it. All right.
The TP9 Sfx. Because you can get it with a dot. It's a full-size gun, long barrel. All these benefits. You lose the back straps, but it's a good gun too.
Those are relatively comfortable guns without the back straps, though.
Yeah, so
I think those are a more universal fit. Mm-hmm. Because in my review of it, and this pissed off the Canik guys, I have a feeling I have a really good habit of just making people mad when I review stuff, because I don't play favorites. I'll point out the bad in every single gun.
Stuff, so.
I do buy my own stuff. But I said the Canik grip just feels generic. Like you grab a Glock grip and you can tell that's a Glock. Grab a CZ, you can tell that's a CZ. Beretta, same thing. The Canik, you grab it and you hold it and you're like, the hell is this?
Is this a Ruger? What is this?
Like you find out about the time you put your finger through the gigantic hot dog down a hallway trigger guard, but literally.
And then once you touch the trigger, you're like, oh baby.
Yeah. but it's a generic feel, and everybody took that as a slight. But it's like, no, it feels good enough to be anything. So, and they've just fit everybody's hands. Wow, we got off topic on that one. That was your last one, wasn't it?
That was my last one.
That was my last one, too.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, guys. Thanks one last time for hanging out with us on the Leadheads podcast. Again, this has been 5 guns for train first-time shooters.
To train first-time shooters, yes.
Yeah. Man, I got brain farts tonight, apparently. Now I did look at your phone, and I can see that you're looking at stuff. And I'm kind of jealous. Anyway, remember, guys, if you like this, go ahead and follow the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, head over to your favorite podcast app and check it out there. If you're listening to it on the podcast apps, thanks. Give us reviews? That's it. Reviews on the podcast apps. Sorry, we're new at the podcasts. I'm used to the YouTubes. Anyway, if you like what we do here and you want to help us out a little bit, head on over to the Patreon page. That's patreon.com/leadheadspodcast. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. I might not know what I'm talking about, but you have attacked my tribe, sir. Because I wanted a Fanta.
I want it. Want a Fanta? Don't you want?
I might
want
have eaten a cold T-bone on the way here, and then I was like, I need gum.
Why did you eat a cold T-bone?
Well, I was hungry, and I looked in the fridge, and I was like, goink.
That was the exact progression and the exact noise it made.
Uh-huh.
Goink. Hey, so you know yeet, right?
Yes.
Did you know that the opposite of yeet has been in pop culture for like years?
Mm-mm.
Yoink. Who's going first? Let's rock, paper, scissors for it when we start.
Welcome to the Leadheads Podcast, episode 11. Almost forgot that one.
I mic punch it trying to remind you.
Top 5 guns.
Hey guys, welcome back to the... What? Oh, you did. That's right.
Over.
It's just top 5 guns. All right, go for it. It's episode 11, by the way.